Space, the final frontier.
This is the podcast of State of the Federation.
Its ongoing mission.
To preview strange new ships.
To seek out new builds and new combinations.
To boldly go where no fleet has gone before.
Gentlemen of the Federation, this is Robert Fletcher, your host. I have dispatched Joseph to the Gamma Quadrant, and I have put Tucker into the Delta Quadrant to go hunt down the Borg. So I am here myself to read you all of the cards and entertain you endlessly, unless those two happen to make it back in time.
We're back.
Oh, God. Well,
there is no Tucker. There is only the collective.
Well... At least one good thing happened while he was away. He sounds like he's more engaging and verbose.
Dang, man, that hurts.
So now that my co-hosts are back, how are you two doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, all things considered. So obviously, for everybody listening at home, this is a little bit of a change of format. The reason why will become quickly apparent, but I'm doing well. How about you, Joseph?
Well, the Blue Jays signed Curtis Granderson last night, I believe.
They did what?
I know. I was reading the New York papers to see if Brian Cashman was going to throw himself off the building, but he hasn't yet. But I guess
Does he come out in a wheelchair? Are there geriatric rules, like it has to be slow pitch?
Oh, no.
Well, actually, wheelchairs are pretty fast on that turf.
That's a good point.
Oh, no. Would you like to hear the rumor?
Oh, yes.
MLB trade rumors. Raise Chris Archer to Yankees?
Well, that's a real shame.
Yeah.
Well, they had to try and answer back for Granderson. And I guess that's the best they could do.
Well, if this was a 2013, the Giants would be a lock to win the World Series with McCutchen and Longoria. But this is sadly not 2013.
What? The Giants got Longoria?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
What a sad come down for an elite third baseman.
And McCutchen's.
Well, McCutchen's already had his sad
Kyle Crick and Brian Reynolds.
Yeah.
To follow the Pablo Sandoval legacy. What a ignominious end for Evan Longoria.
It is tragic days, but it will be interesting.
He's not hitting any home runs out of that ballpark.
I mean, hey, what about what about?
Anyway, we are not here to discuss baseball at length. We are here instead to talk about Star Trek Attack Wing. And before we actually get to our main topic of the Queen Vessel Prime card pack, I actually wanted to offer an errata or an apology to our comments regarding the OP Resource Rumble. In our last show, we said don't do the Resource Rumble, just go and blow up your opponent's ships. And I had the OP in Fremont, California, and the winners were consistently people that took the resources.
But were there people who didn't take the resources?
There were people that ignored it, that did things like taking either just one, which would be co-pilot, or even to the extent that we talked about taking the senior staff and just ignoring it altogether.
How did they lose?
So like I have been discussing, the games are not ending up in complete wipes anymore.
Right.
Yeah, because it's every fleet I see now is 4 ships versus 4 ships. And
really?
It's coming down to points. And because you're getting 10 points for each resource you unlock, that means the scores are ending up 75 to 50.
Yeah, but can't you just unlock your opponent's resources?
No, you only unlock yours.
For each of their resources, they turn face up. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting to see that the game is shifting into that position where when I was a TO 2 years ago, every game finished before time, except for a very select few. And now I'm seeing very, very few games that do not go to time.
That's tragic.
No, I think it's good. I think it's healthy for the game. I think it feeds into what I think is a strength, that it comes down to points, and there's a calculus between what ships you attack and what ships you want to remove from the board.
What's fascinating to me is the fact that we're seeing a movement towards 4-ship fleets. That's not what I would have expected. I would have expected maybe 3 loaded ships, or even trying to pile even more stuff into 50 points on cheaper hulls. But 4 ships is an interesting strategy, and I'm curious to see how that evolves.
Well, what I'm noticing is it's kind of a 45, 45, and then 220 ships, or something around roughly those numbers.
So,
especially with how cheap ships are becoming.
So the exact same chassis that 2 Feds, 2 Fighters runs on.
Pretty much, exactly. Yeah, just iterations thereon.
Are they running fighters, or are they running science vessels and stuff?
One person was running a fighter. We had one guy that's a big Dominion fan, so he ran the Jem'Hadar bugs to a certain level of degree. That was successful. We had a couple Romulan science vessels out there as well. So it was a mix and match.
An hour goes awful quick when you each have 4 ships moving, too.
It does. Yeah. And I'd say maybe it was 40% 4 ships and 60% 3 ships. But I'd still think it's a pretty significant number.
Well, yeah, it's a less strategic move, unfortunately, but so be it.
Why do you think it's less strategic?
When 3/4 of a fleet is unkillable, and so now you're just focusing on killing 1 ship each, it's a way simpler game.
Well, I don't think you're just killing. I don't think you're focused on killing 1 ship. I think you're just trying to figure out which ships you want to kill. You're killing because most people lost 2 ships.
Okay, well, the point still stands, though, right? If you're just trying to kill 2 ships, that's substantially different than trying to wipe your opponent's fleet, right? Every ship that goes onto a map that isn't interactive and just can't die simplifies the game.
I disagree, because I think when you look at your opposing fleet, you have to make the determination of, these are the ships I want to focus on because I know I can't get them all, and these are the ones I have to protect. So instead of saying I'm just going to go get all 130, I now have to say, how do I take 80 from him but prevent him from getting 80 from me?
Right. So if you and I are both running Sutherlands that can cancel 6 hits, and we don't have any disruption, so they're just essentially invincible ships, then where those Sutherlands are is only relevant in relation to the 2 ships that can die. Right?
Well, but that's what's great about the other 2 ships are disruption ships. Are those Romulan science vessels with Nameless? Are they 2 bugs with suicide attack? What are my support ships' responses to your tactics?
Okay, but that's a situation where a whole fleet wipe is possible, right?
I don't know if the whole. Well, this goes to your point where 4 ships are hard to maneuver, and you're just going to not be able to do it all in an hour.
Right. So okay. So if you don't have time to disrupt and kill a ship, if you're just targeting your opponent's weakest ship or 2 to kill, you have a lot less that you're considering in the game. We will finish
this conversation with one last question to you, Joseph, which is, how many of our games go to time?
All of them, but you're the slowest player that's ever played Attack Wing.
Not the slowest. I'm the second slowest. There is always someone out there who is slightly slower.
Who?
I have not met him yet.
Which is not a knock, but you can't deny that.
I
Joseph-
like to think about my
you are considered in your decision making. Let's just put it that way.
Joseph, you can't just say you're the slowest player ever to play this game. Oh, that's not a knock.
Well, it's not. It's not because you can't understand what's going on. You just
You're
considered.
not helping here. All right.
Hey, I wear it as a badge of pride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So-
deliberate, right?
It depends the fleet, but there are times that it has been deliberate.
Are you saying that his play is deliberative, or that he deliberately slow plays?
He doesn't slow play. He plays slowly. Well, that's the same thing. No, it's totally different, actually.
There are nuances built in there. So we are here, however, to talk about the Queen Vessel Prime. So we'll move into that. And the reason I am hosting is because it should be well known that I do not particularly like the Borg, and Tucker loves the Borg. And my analysis of these cards is limited because of my displeasure with the pack in general, or the faction in general, and Tucker's is going to speak at end on each of these cards. So we're flipping roles. Gentlemen, are you ready to get started?
Ready and eager.
See, slow pitch, right? We throw these softballs up just so Tucker can hit them out.
Yeah, but he cranks them.
He does. They all make it over the fence.
You know what they say once they do?
What? What do they say? So the first card we're looking at today is the named Queen Vessel Prime. Its stat line is 6087, which was the same with the original Queen Vessel Prime. Its value is 42 points, which I believe is also the same. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. The slots are Borg Tech Weapon Crew, and its action bar is Target Lock, Scan, Regeneration. Ship ability is End Phase. Add 1 drone token to the captain equipped to this ship. So, Tucker, how are you going to run 4 of these at Worlds?
Well, probably very quickly, and then as Ben and Richard attempt to drag me screaming away from the table for running a 168-point fleet with 4 copies of the same card, I'll attempt to explain to them that the reason I'm really excited about this. So, I initially was sort of tepid about this until something got pointed out to me, which is, unlike every other added drone token card we've ever seen, this does not seem to limit the captain to its originally equipped number of drone tokens. Now, there is a ruling in the game that you can't use components that don't exist. You can't do a 7 forward, even if a card would otherwise let you. And right now, there don't exist drone tokens to go above 9 drones, or effectively above skill 9. But it does mean that, for an example, the tactical drone in this pack, which we'll get to, which is skill 6, might actually be able to go up to skill 9 and use its ability 9 times, as this text is currently written on the card. That's very exciting. That's extremely exciting, because there are some very, very potent Borg captains at lower drone numbers. I can't really say captain skill. Some of which are in this pack. So this is... Now, it's 42 points. We only have 8 points to play with, unless we want to use shuttles or malts, which we probably do. But this is a very exciting card for all the Borg players out there.
So, Joseph, would this work on captains that are non-Borg captains, and how would that interact?
Well, so when we had this conversation previously, I went and looked, and I couldn't find that. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist somewhere, but I couldn't find anything in the rules or in the FAQ or in the tournament rules that talked about a maximum number of drone tokens being placed on a captain. Those rules seem to always exist on the cards that increase drone tokens. That seems to be the way that those rules were enacted. So we don't know if we can push Borg captains beyond their captain skill, other than, as Tucker mentioned, we might not have the components, and we don't know if we can put them on captains of other factions, because they would start the game technically with 0 drone tokens unless they had Romulan Alliance on them. Then they would start with 4, and then they certainly would have no upper limit other than for this card anyway, right? Because you wouldn't be exceeding captain skill.
Right, and it could be argued that the star that are on the board captains, it represents their skill being associated with the drone tokens, but captains that don't have a star, like that Picard 9, for example, could take drone tokens that would be independent of his actual captain skills.
Yeah, it wouldn't impact his captain skill at all, but he could have.
And that, by the way, actually comes from a Worf ruling on Borg Alliance, which explicitly indicates that the captain skill of the captain with Borg Alliance elite talent, which gives a captain 4 drones, is the skill number printed on their card. The drone tokens are there to be spent on upgrade that requires them. Sick.
That's right. So I guess I see 3 main uses for this. One, possibly pushing Borg captain skills above their starting value. 2, to go on non-Borg captains, and then you can take things like it probably wouldn't be assimilation tubules given the 42 points, but something that takes drone tokens. You can pair that with a captain of a different faction. And then third, and the one that most clearly works, is something like tactical drone. The reroll tactical drone loves this, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're making 1 attack around, you're losing a token, and then you're getting it back, right? Yeah. So it's rerolls forever, essentially.
Yeah, well, I think it allowed people to use Borg data, which always saw some play time. I don't think it ever made it competitively, but it definitely saw play time.
I used Borg data a couple of times, actually. Most notably, I think, at the unofficial Fremont Regional. And I've actually been a little disappointed with him. Even when I have used him, he hasn't been particularly effective. But it does broaden the use if you want to. If you want to commit 42 points on a ship to doing that, and that's the downside, right? Is that this is just still so expensive.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Joseph.
Just to jump in on data, I mean, he's 4 points. Gen Con is 4 points. Because I think what was difficult about using data was you'd disable the captain at a low captain skill because you needed a drone token captain, and then they just re-enable them. Mm-hmm. Whereas now you could take Gen Con, you could move last, you could data, and their captain skill 1 going into the combat phase.
Oh, that's attractive, yeah.
And with Gen Con, you're moving last, so it's easier to navigate into that range of 1 to 2.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's 8 points on the nose.
Yeah. So the next card, which also sees very little change, is the generic.
I substantially disagree with what you just said, but go on.
Okay. Well, the generic reads it's a non-unique Borg octahedron. They got the spelling correct, so good job, WizKids. The autocorrect worked. And its stats are 6086, losing 1 shield, with its upgrade bar being 2 Borg slots, a tech, a weapon, and a crew, so it loses 1 crew. And then its action bar is a typical action bar with a target, scan, and regeneration. So, Joseph, are you running 6 of these at Worlds?
I do have a plan to get them in. Okay. So I'm not going to quit like Tucker did and just say that 160 is an impossible barrier. What is attractive about these though is turning around or rotating your base for Borg ships is important, and the octahedron does that with green ones. That's important for clearing oxes, but it's even more important if you're going to have Romulan pilot tag along, which you almost always should, I think, on a big base Borg ship. Um, so this is more attractive than a sphere in a lot of ways, and now it's the same number of points, but I'll let Tucker talk about that.
Yeah, so the fact that this has dropped down to 38 is huge. It is incredibly huge because this ship is basically superior to a sphere in almost every way now. It has one more hull. It has, depending on the sphere you're looking at, either a tech slot, which is very big, or another Borg slot, which is very useful with something else in this pack. The movement dial is better. The only thing a generic octahedron cannot do better than a generic sphere now is be a Borg support vessel, because the sphere gets that extra 5-point discount. Now, that's still, I really do want to emphasize, Borg support vehicles are still very in play in this meta. And that's what's keeping the sphere going right now, especially the existence of Sphere 936, which winds up sort of being this with shields instead of hull, I guess, but still getting that discount. This is, I think that based on this, the Borg are going to start to make a comeback, which I'm obviously very excited about. And I'm really excited to see, but the other reason I'm very excited about this is 2 points may not seem like a huge deduction, and in some ways it's not. But for a long time, the generic sphere was really the only Borg playable ship because it was the only one you could fit 12 points on. And if they're willing to drop the octahedron, they're willing to drop the sphere. And I really cannot wait to see, because we just saw that announcement, right, for the Borg faction pack, where they have spheres. So spheres are getting a reprint, which means they might be getting a recost. And even if it's just 1 point, even if a generic sphere is 37 points, it's going to be huge. And I'm so stoked.
So, Joseph, what would you do with 12 points on a octahedron?
Well, for starters, you can put Veril on now, and that's, that conjures things from the bad old days, at the very least. I think I would start with Romulan pilot, and even if it ends up being Romulan pilot and Picard and dispersion, well, you wouldn't run dispersion field, but one of the new Borg upgrades, that's a substantial improvement to what you were able to do before.
Tucker, what are you looking at running on the ship?
Man, there's a lot of possibilities. If you're gonna run an octahedron, you're gonna want to take advantage of the green maneuvers. I might do actually a Weyoun Romulan pilot, because that gets pretty close to old Borg movement.
Peter ran those in 2015, didn't he, Joseph?
Weyoun and Romulan pilot?
Yes.
Yeah, and on the Queen vessel, as it turns out.
Yeah, that's actually true. I'd forgotten about that. I forgot it was on the Queen vessel. Yeah. There are also well, I'll tell you what, Robert. Like my first choices at this point for things I would put on a Borg ship are the many of them are involving cards in this pack. So let's keep going, and I'll talk about them as we go.
Excellent. Well, we're now moving on to our captains, and the first, be prepared. This is going to shock many people. The first captain name is Tactical Drone. I know it's a deviation from what they have done in the past, but I think it's good for the game. So the first tactical drone we have here costs 3, and he reads setup. Place 6 drone tokens on this card. Combat phase. If an opposing ship is within range 1 of 2, spend 1 drone token. Place a battle station token beside this ship. So Tucker, and it's non-unique. So Tucker, is this going on every ship regardless of faction?
I don't know about every ship regardless of faction, because a number of factions have interesting or better alternatives to this. But let me tell you something. The best tactical drone ever, the best tactical drone made prior to this one was the first tactical drone. The one that came on Sphere 4270, which is 3 points for, I want to say 5 tokens. I don't remember if it's 4 or 5. I always think it's 4, and then I wind up being wrong. So I'm going to double check here. But it's either 4 or 5, and the ability is when you're attacking, spend a drone, reroll any number of attack dice. It's 4. I was right. So this, with one very major, I'm actually going to say 2 very major exceptions, this one absolutely smokes the old one. Why? Because most Borg ships don't have battle stations on their action bar. This gives every Borg ship that wants it a quality captain, a full quality captain for all of 3 points. There are 2 situations where I'd rather have the old one. Number 1, magnometric guided charges. Because mag charges are 3 dice and they automatically convert a battle stations into a critical, you're generally going to be more interested in getting rid of your blanks than your battle stations. And then, of course, number 2 is against cloakers. Interestingly, these 2 things go together very well. So if you're expecting cloakers, run the old one. If you're not, run the new one. It's non-unique. You can put it on every ship. Ofrabius de Kalu Calais.
So Joseph, better than Gen Con, or just simply the best captain in the game?
Robert, they're not even in the same class.
He's so good.
Take that as you will. Certainly the 6 captain skill that you're starting with is an interesting distinction from the reroll tactical drone as well. But to add on to what Tucker said, of course he's great on Borg ships, but I think he's actually great on cloakers as well, because you're placing a battle station token, so you can still take a battle station action, and cloakers really are happy to pile up battle station tokens for defense and then use one on offense, or even just spend them all on defense. So I think he will be, as you said, put on a wide range of ships. If you look at it, he's 3 but 4 on a Romulan ship, and then you take Kieran, which of course is your admiral slot, which is unfortunate, but that's 2 battle stations on a ship for 1 point more than Picard, right? That's pretty good, and only 1 captain skill less to start.
That's true. You can get that target lock battle station quality with this captain.
Well, with Picard, you're going to target lock battle station or maybe evade. But in this case, you can get 2 battle station tokens because you place with this guy and you take the action with Hiran.
Yeah, that's actually a good combination.
I mean to say Mendak, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Mendak.
Yeah, or you're doing Chempek's cruiser or Picard or some other way to take that action.
Yeah.
So, but to either of you, is this a viable competitive card? Are we going to see this in competitive play, or is it just kind of neat to see, but not really an effective tool?
I could see it in competitive play. I mean, it's a free action battle stations captain. Like, that's not nothing.
For 3 points.
For 3 points. Now, a major limiting factor of it on non-Borg ships is that it doesn't work at range 3. And that's important. Now, the Borg, obviously, on their 360 ships don't care, because they can't shoot outside range 3 anyway. Or if they do, they're using mag charges and don't want this. But for everyone else, it's a little bit more of an open question. But, again, 3-point, battle station's captain. And by the way, check the timing of this. If you want to know how good this ability is, this is literally the same ability that gives co-pilot battle stations.
Yeah, so out of curiosity, how does he work with Crew Riker that gives a +3 to captain skill?
He would become 9, and then he would go down after that.
So if he is on the Queen Vessel Prime, and then I'm playing him, so I'm a slow player, can I get him up to a 12 captain skill in 3 turns?
You could get him up to 50.
No, Robert. The answer is...
Let's not exaggerate my capabilities.
Robert, the answer is no, you couldn't. You could get him up to 10. Because it'd take you that long.
It's unclear, right? Like we're not sure, because Tucker raises an interesting point about.
Well, no, because that's no. That's a captain skill, but that's different. You can absolutely add 3,
right.
But you couldn't get him to 13. Is my point.
Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel this is a maybe I feel pretty confident in, is that WizKids they've been pretty consistent about components that don't exist can't exist, essentially.
Oh no, I believe that. I'm confident in that. I just didn't remember if an admiral or a crew that gave a bonus to captain skill then modified the drone tokens, or how that worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
But are they independent? So he would have 6 drone tokens and then he gets a +3, or does a +3 give him 3 more drone tokens?
Oh, they're independent. No. It's just a captain skill bonus. It doesn't give him drone tokens. That's old school. That ruling is as old as I think the Borg Queen Admiral.
Got it. Okay, that's all I was curious about. So, but yeah, I think he's interesting. But what I personally think is more interesting is the next captain out of this pack, who is First. And First is a unique captain.
And the first one now will later be last all the time. Sorry.
Well,
he will not be the last captain out of my box.
Man, we should have the banter we should have gone into there was the next captain is first. Well, who was second then?
Well, second's the crew.
I thought tactical drone. I thought tactical drone was first. No, first is first.
What?
Well, who's on second?
What?
Yesterday, right? Yesterday's playing outfield.
I don't know.
Baseball. The driest of all sports.
I don't give a damn. What? I don't give a damn. Oh, he's our resource.
So the card first. Unique captain costs 4. His text reads: setup. Place 6 drone tokens on this card. Activation phase. Spend 1 drone token. Remove 2 time tokens or 1 disabled token from an upgrade equipped to this ship. So Joseph, this is the mechanic that makes EM Pulse work, correct?
That's certainly what I would use it for.
Are you joking?
There's no question of that.
Are you joking?
There's no better use for it.
I substantially disagree with that.
Well, I think we could just end the show here. Right? I think we have said all that needs to be said about this pack.
EM Pulse for life.
Well, I guess the first one now really was last.
You know what? This is I'm not saying that it is broken, that it is a problem, but this is the most likely thing to be a problem. And that's not a criticism. I'm saying this is a card to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say it's a problem, but I think it's the one that is going to be the most active for combinations in the game now.
Yeah, that's right. This is what's called an engine. It was hilariously, I have now 2 years later thought of the word I was looking for when I was originally talking about the Doctor when it was first previewed. This is an engine. This is a card that is looking for the rest of its combo. And I mean, there are some obvious ideas out there. I mean, if nothing else.
It.
Sorry, go ahead, Joseph.
I said it found it. E-Impulse.
Good night, everybody.
I mean, look, if nothing else, right? 2 or 3 more points, and this becomes spend a drone token, remove a disable token from every crew upgrade equipped to your ship because flux, right?
Very true.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we've all seen the things that can do.
So my counter to that is Waters has existed, who is about the same skill level, and we don't see Waters everywhere.
Okay, no. First of all, a 6 is substantially different than a 4. And then second of all, Waters is an action.
True. Okay. Well, yes, I will believe the action component more than a 6 being.
Yeah, agreed.
Better than a 4.
Because he's going to 5 the first time he does it, and he's going to 4 the second time he does it.
Unless he's on Queen Vessel Prime.
I don't think he's on Queen Vessel Prime.
He's not on Queen Vessel Prime. That's fine.
Yeah.
With Phlox. And Phlox is re-enabling one other crew. It's a Rube Goldberg. But it's so
that
simple.
Voyager clown car. It's coming. It's making it. Joseph, what is besides the joys of the Impulse, what's the one combo that comes to mind for you?
Well, actually, let me just make a more general statement because I don't have a combo that I can think of offhand. But two time tokens, if you want to do something every round, is enough. If the upgrade in question requires you to place 3 time tokens, because you're going to clear one at the end of the turn. So everyone should keep that in mind, right? Anything that says 3 time tokens is in play for this.
Tucker, what's your favorite 3 time token card right now?
No one.
I hear it.
I'm having flashbacks to my youth.
Jesus Christ! It's Duranidar, Duran.
Yeah, we know that.
I'm just reminiscing.
I had a case when I was a kid, so I did not listen to this.
Convertible, wind in the air.
Whoa, hang on a
driving
second.
Down the
Whoa. Those are fighting words, sir.
Well,
sir.
No, I'm kidding. I listened to them.
Okay, but yeah, because they're amazing. Okay, look, so in case you hadn't noticed, the ability to not take auxiliary power tokens when you're doing red maneuvers every turn is pretty great. If nothing else, it makes the Soong a viable option.
Soong.
It doesn't make the Soong a viable option.
Hey, the Soong, when it can do 1 white turns, is a viable ship.
Oh, you're talking about Geordie LaForge too?
Well, no, I was thinking more with the fleet captain, the fleet captains back in the day.
That there were so many better things you could do. Okay, whatever. That's wildly off topic.
So Duranidar first.
Duranidar.
How does that combo work, Tucker?
Well, basically, you put 3 time tokens on Duranidar and you take them off with first. It's not a terribly complicated concept, but it's also great for stuff. For example, well, I was gonna say it's great on Voyager, but Voyager doesn't actually have red maneuvers, does it? No. That's okay.
I think the Soong is actually a really good example.
No,
because
the Soong isn't a good example of anything.
No, I mean it has. So the Soong or the D is also a good example because you're just getting those red turns. The Soong has a 6 forward, which is red. It has that 4 come about, and 4 come abouts are really good maneuver choices. So, I mean, I wouldn't run this, but if you're looking at Fleet Commander with Tactical Drone first, and this, you're now getting your battle stations and being able to do come abouts, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ships out there that have sort of been hamstrung by red maneuver dials.
The Scout 608.
And then there are...
My beautiful Galors.
Well, I mean, there have been ships out there that have been hand-strung by terrible maneuver dials, and then there's Scout 608, which this just makes better. So that's great.
It needs it. It needs the help.
That is the most
It's making a comeback.
That is the most manifestly false thing you've said all day, and you said Duran Duran was bad. And I mean the
Right.
band.
Cope. I didn't say they were bad. I said they were terrible.
Well,
Next level.
ugh. Anyway,
But Joseph, you're talking about this being a potentially broken card, and we're all stretching to find combos. So do you think there's a combo out there right now, or do you think it's just something that is going to come up in the future?
No, like I said, it's one to keep your eye on. Right? I don't think it's broken, but it wouldn't. The card they make to make it broken wouldn't have to be that absurd, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. He works with photon torpedoes, right? And I'm thinking of the disabled token because I think we have many more examples of the disabled token being a factor.
oh, for Christ's sake, Robert. Of course, yes, he works with photon. What are you going to tell me he works with next? Disruptor beams?
only an idiot would say that.
And I can choose which disruptor beams I want. Do I want time token disruptor beams? Do I want disabled disruptor beams?
Never should have mentioned this.
I'm going to be in paralysis. I won't be able to play. I'm just going to be like holding those two cards.
So, same as normal.
Same
Or
as
no disruptor beams at all.
or no disruptor beams.
That proves the point of the whole exercise.
So the only reason we're talking this ridiculously about it, by the way, is because we really don't want to talk about the next card.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, well, we will all talk about how fantastic that neural transponder will be on all 4 of Tucker's Queen Vessel Primes and all 6 of Joseph's generic Queen Vessel Primes.
Oh, for God's sake.
So neural transponder, 1 per ship. It is both Borg ship restricted and Borg captain restricted. It reads, whenever a battle station, evade, scan, or auxiliary token is placed beside this ship, you must discard this card. Each friendly ship within range 1 to 2 that has a neurotransponder upgrade equipped to it must also place a token of that same type beside it if it does not already have one. This is a talent which costs 2. So
All right.
Tucker,
What?
how are you putting that? You are putting 4 of these on your 4 Queen Vessel Primes when you go to Worlds.
No, I'm not, because there are literally only 3 captains in the game that can take it. Or that can be in the same fleet.
Locutus, Borg Queen.
Doesn't the Klingon captain have a talent
Nope.
slot?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Korok does not have an elite talent slot.
Is Lore?
Yeah, of course
Considered-
it's lore.
Of course.
Is he not considered Borg? He just doesn't care.
But it has to be on a Borg ship. I wonder if that breaks
Doesn't
it.
matter. Same ruling on
Oh,
Vulcan High
High
Command.
command.
Yeah.
And this one is actually fairly like thematic, right? All right. So here's what's interesting about this card for me. This is a mandatory effect. You know what that says to me?
What does it say to you, Tucker?
It says to me, everybody who uses this with Locutus, with Borg Queen, and Lore, because why else would you, has to remember that passing their action is a thing they can do. Because otherwise, they're going to do the same damn thing everyone does at the beginning of the game, and be like, first turn, I move 1 forward, and I don't know, take a oh, there's my neural transceiver gone.
Transponder.
Whatever.
By the way, we can take this with senior staff.
No, has to be equipped. Oh, that's right, because it's a ship, a Borg ship with a Borg captain equipped to it.
Correct.
That is true.
So Tucker, your fears are alleviated. We can run these on all 4.
I hate you so much right now.
Joseph, do you still hate me?
I've never hated you.
Do you hate this card?
I agree. The problem is that the Borg basically tactical drones that you want to run it on don't have elite talent slots.
Well,
So
yeah.
otherwise
reason-
it's great. Otherwise it's an excellent card.
Yeah, well, Joseph, the reason I had to ask you if you hated me was because my threat analysis was on high alert, and I had to send my crew to battle stations.
Well, so this would actually be very powerful if it could go on tactical drones. It would be interesting. It wouldn't be too powerful. It would be sweet.
For 2 points, in a discard, I feel that that's a little expensive.
Well, this card existed in X-Wing without the discard and busted up the game bad,
Oh, really?
like super bad.
What was that card?
A Tawny Mindlink,
Yeah, okay.
and yeah, it was basically the same card, 2 points, pilot talent. It's just you didn't discard it when you used it.
And so people were just stacking.
Well, it's the same thing. If you don't have a token, you get to place it, right?
Oh, right.
If it does not already have one, but it let you get tokens on things that were stressed.
That's actually a really good point, because even this would even be triggered by Copilot.
That's right. And how they would stack them to get 2, or sometimes more, is they do this, and then the ship would take focus for them, but battle stations for us as their action, and would get it that way. Now, 2 battle station tokens are way more important in that game than in an attack wing for Borg ships anyway, right?
That's true. Well, we are getting a Voyager Borg chip, which will be interesting. And we do have the Borg Varels, which can be cloaked. So
yeah, that's true.
So it'll be
That's
interesting.
very true.
Tucker, any thoughts? Any final thoughts on this wonderful card?
Hilariously, the best counter to this is Transwarp Signal, which is just incredibly funny against this card.
How is Oh, because you give 1 Ox, everybody gets an Ox. But like Joseph mentioned, it's placing, it's not actually action. So the Oxes don't necessarily matter to the ships as much.
Well, no, because this upgrade will discard. These will discard.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, now, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, it's a card, and it is in the pack. So there you have it. The next card we're looking at is our only Borg upgrade, which is Threat Analysis. It is a 1 cost, and it reads, action, place 2 time tokens on this card. Place a battle station beside this ship. So, Joseph, how are you getting this on the Hathaway?
Borg Queen and Borg Alliance. Oh, that doesn't even work.
Yeah, no,
Has to be a non-Borg captain. I'm not getting on the Hathaway, but any Borg ship that has 2 Borg slots, I'm putting 2 of these on, and then that is almost like adding a battle station to the action bar, because when one's down for 1 turn, the other will be active. 2 points and 2 slots that aren't often used is a great price to pay to add battle stations to a Borg ship's action bar.
Tucker, any thoughts on threat analysis?
Hey, you want to know a fun build?
What's a fun build, Tucker?
Queen Vessel Prime, threat analysis, Borg Queen that can take a free action from the action bar.
That doesn't sound fun at all.
That sounds amazingly fun. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, to fly.
Let's see. That'd be 6. I almost like it. Dakot would not be good.
No, that's correct.
Spock would be good.
Just no, because what does Queen Vessel Prime do?
Oh, it has it. Yes. I can keep up.
Nah.
Yeah, that's actually not bad.
I mean, it's almost strictly worse than just putting Picard Knight on there, but...
Well, but Picard 9's on your generic.
That's true. You can do that. You can do it that way. That's definitely a thing.
I think it's playable. I lean that this is almost so my shtick, and the thing that makes me a little frustrated with this game is everybody's getting battle stations. It doesn't feel like it was limited to factions that didn't have cloak or were underpowered in other ways, such as the Dominion and the Federation.
Yeah, but okay. So first of all, to say that the Federation in this game has literally ever, been underpowered is an absolute joke.
During the Dominion War, how many Federation fleet ships did you see on the board?
I saw Enterprise D with Scotty all the time.
In the losers bracket.
Not necessarily. A 5-die 360 back in Wave 2-3 was relevant.
No, because you just interphase and then kill them with your Vorches.
This was back when it was harder to get quality on Vorches.
You don't even need quality. 3 Vorches can kill an Enterprise D without quality.
With target locks, you're fine.
All right, whatever.
With target locks, they're definitely.
All right. So yes, during Klingon dominance, yes, okay, I'll give you that. Until Voyager, let's say. But,
Well, I think I would almost say it's system upgrade the hood. I think the hood is when Fed ships really took that leap. Now, Fed cards have been powerful, but I don't think Fed ships really became powerful until we got system upgrades and type of phasers.
Voyager was one of the best ships in the game the instant it was released.
You're right.
Feds were underpowered in the beginning. Borg had their, black summer and winter and fall and spring, but Voyager was like the counter build, right? I mean, the Borg could deal with Voyager because they would Borg missile it, but it was the only 2 competitive builds at that time were playing big Borg ships or playing Voyager.
And in some ways, many times you were better off running Voyager than Borg if you wanted Way and Barrel. I mean, Carl Godwin did it to win Colorado Regionals in 2014? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a Borg meta. I know. I placed 3rd with pure Borg. Literally, it was a Borg pure build. Even my friggin' blind was Borg.
And because there was 8 regionals or something, right? And big Borg ships won 5 and Voyager won 3 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. But keep in mind, I played Carl round 3. We were the 2. What would it have been? It would have been 120. So we were the 2 240 players at table 1. And mine was a Borg missile build. I literally had 2 spheres with Borg missile and a scout cube. And he destroyed me. It was not a close game. So Voyager was always a punch. Okay, we are getting way off track here. But my point is, I disagree with Robert strongly in that I think it was a very big mistake for most ships to not have battle stations. I honestly do.
I think there's the evidence that we have talked about offline about that, and which makes my statement a little less accurate or defensible, is the fact that in X-Wing, most ships have battle stations. Isn't that correct, Joseph?
Yes, most. Yeah.
Most,
for sure.
Most small vessels.
Well, I think the big ones have it too.
Well,
maybe not the epic ships. I have no idea about the epic ships. But
okay.
So to put a capstone on our little wander down history lane, because I think that was interesting, the actual point where the Federation took over dominance was a 2-step process. Step 1 was when the Borg nerf happened. That started Fed ships to arrive, but bioships really filled that gap for a bit. But the main thing was the arrival of the Hathaway, the true.
I don't think the Hathaway's powerful without the hood.
Well,
if we don't have Type 8 and upgraded phasers, I don't think Hathaway's a playable ship.
I think you split.
Those both didn't come with the hood.
Yeah, I think you split the difference and call it the Lakota, which is the ship that had upgraded phasers, right?
Oh yeah, but the hood came with defense Riker, with system upgrades.
Sure,
with
and that got you started on, a Vadager and Ox Prize and stuff like that. But um, the, those were competitive with what was going on, but the Feds really shot ahead of everybody else with upgraded phasers because that made them able to deal with fighters way better than everybody else.
Yeah, that's true too.
It was the Hathaway. I know you guys have trouble admitting that, but
Well, I think we all really know it was the A.
And, well, look, I'll give you this, okay? I can say that maybe it was the Hathaway because, it's like they say, Hathaway and you're sitting on top of the world. I've been waiting to use that pun for years. Don't you me.
We're moving on. We're moving on. We're moving on to the crew.
Let me make a point about the battle stations, which is that here's the thing. Everyone who didn't have battle stations ran Picard or Ducat. Right. So everyone did have battle stations, and it's what made Picard especially so ubiquitous. In a sense.
And his 9 captain skill. But
yeah, well, yes. That certainly doesn't hurt. So it wasn't like these ships weren't getting battle stations. Anyway, right?
So, well, speaking of unkillable Voyagers and battle stations, we have one of the main engines. I don't know if it's main engines, but it definitely was one of the cards that ran on many, many Clown Car Voyagers.
Actually, also speaking of the blind by Scout Cube.
Magnetic guided charges.
What?
Didn't those come on the blind Scout Cube?
Yeah, but so did one.
Oh. Did she?
Yeah, that's where he's from.
Oh, wow. One. Which is a crew that apparently came on a prize ship, or not a prize ship, but a booster. Mm-hmm. What is the official WizKids determination? They're not blind boosters, they're reinforcement boosters?
That's the new terminology, I believe.
Okay.
Sure.
So from the 255 reinforcement booster, we have one who is a unique crew, costs 4, and the ability is action. Discard this card. For each damage this ship suffers this game round, disable one of its active shields instead of destroying it. If the ship has no active shields, damage is applied normally. That's a really weird last clause. But it's good to see reprints. I think we have seen reprints in several of these packs. So, Tucker, is this a card you're going to use again?
In all honesty, probably not. One was a card I experimented with a little bit here and there. I played with it a little bit on, for example, 384 is one of the obvious places where you can put this because it's a pile of shields and there's nothing they can do about them besides blow them up. But I just think there are better ways to. What this is it's trying to be a really complicated attack cancel. There are just better ways to get that effect. I am, however, very happy to see the card reprinted.
Yeah.
This has not been widely accessible in literally years, and I'm very happy to see it back.
Yeah, I think we're all happy that they're putting cards back into the packs that have been either the reinforcement boosters or from prize ships. Mm-hmm. Joseph, did you ever use one?
One in Guelph and its surrounding environs was the staple card. Everyone was desperate to get that blind booster to add him to their fleets because he was gonna, you were definitely playing him the next month, right? So every month every OP where you didn't get that blind booster was another OP where you wouldn't get to play him. He didn't. He was in some ways the defining card of the game. He didn't disappear until projected stasis fields started showing up on shuttles.
Interesting.
As often as they did because they were essentially a complete work around him. But now that it's more difficult to to use projected stasis field because it's not going to go on a shuttle most likely. Or I think he's going to have quite a substantial resurgence, because if you have him on an 8 shield ship, that's you're almost absorbing 2 attacks at that point. So for 1 and Goval and 2 actions, it's 4 attack cancels. I mean, I don't think you can get that effect.
Well, there's a Tamal, right? Coincidentally, there's a Tamal flying around out there.
No, I'm saying canceling 1 attack for 5 points that's always a price you're happy to pay.
Right.
Canceling 4 attacks for 5 points, that's, even if it does cost you 2 actions, that's crazy.
So you're saying I need to run this on the battleship?
Yes.
Okay.
That would not be a terrible idea.
Yeah, Joseph, you hear that? Joseph is running the battleship with 1 at World.
No. You said, should you run it?
Yeah. Got it. Well, I will take that into consideration.
No, because it's perfect. How many shields does the battleship have?
Only 5.
So you cancel 1 attack, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
The battleship survives the first round of combat. The game ends.
I use its secondary arc weapon to throw 18 dice or something.
It's it's perfect.
DS, it actually works pretty well in DS9. I'm looking at high shielded ships right now. The ships with the most shields on it. But yeah, I think I guess you could get a fit on the Cube 384.
Well, Tucker had mentioned that, and I think it's pretty gross.
Especially that your shields can't be affected by anything, right? So you can't be projected stasis fielded. You can't use something like Gorn Raiding Party. So your shields would just never be disabled.
If they manage to get on the 384, 1 and Wayoon and captain's chair,
you can.
What do you do?
I mean, you can do that.
Yeah.
You just need to start Wayoon and captain's chair on 384, and then get 1 there some other way.
Yeah, exactly. What do you do? That's every turn.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's every turn.
It's every turn. Yeah. 10 points. 10 shields.
Your first 10 damage don't matter. It's only damage 11 where you actually start to make progress.
Oh God. And your chips are being attritioned throughout that process too.
Yeah, you're getting a 6 dice attack that's coming at you too.
Well, that actually seems quite viable.
Painfully viable.
I think it's awesome.
Yes, you would, Tucker. So the next crew we have is to our first. We have a second, and the second is a unique crew costing 4. Activation. His text reads: activation phase. Once per game, discard the captain equipped to this ship. Perform an action as a free action. Then place 4 drone tokens on this card. This card becomes the ship's captain.
Wait, so what's the name of this card?
Second.
What?
Tucker, what do you think of this crew, which has been identified on the card as the name SECOND?
So ultimately, what this is an interesting idea because it's kind of Pegasus Riker for Borg captains. If the intent of using the drones is to activate upgrades and not to activate captain abilities. The problem with that is the vast majority of abilities that you'd actually want to activate that, require drone tokens are captain abilities. So, at its best, in some ways, what this says is once you're out of drone tokens, you're never going to go lower than 4 captain skill if you don't want to.
And that would be late into the game. Right? Right, Joseph? Is this a card that does see some kind of competitive play, or is it just something that sits in the box?
This isn't even on my radar. There's a Klingon crew that's 5 points that is just a discard for a free action, right? If you need something crazy to get a combo over the top, that's already there without having to destroy your captain.
Right. And we have Agony Booth, which we saw.
And we have Agony.
Right. Not a particularly interesting card. We have another crew, or a crew in waiting with its cute little picture. It reminds me so much of my son. Neonatal Borg.
Okay, you just made that incredibly weird.
When you get the little images, the oh gosh, what are they called? The ultrasounds. Right? It's so cute. Anyway, Neonatal Borg. It is a crew. It is 1 per ship. It costs 2, and it reads, add 1 crew to this ship's upgrade bar. If this card is equipped to a Borg ship, you may have 1 Borg crew upgrade fill the ship's tech or Borg upgrade slots. So Joseph, this is going on your 608, correct?
I've tried, but it doesn't seem to yield much.
Really?
Well, you want those other slots, right? I mean, you want the Borg slot for dispersion field. That's pretty much stapled on.
But it's 2 points for a crew slot. At minimum, it replaces itself.
Well, yeah, but the problem is, Robert, there's already, mostly involving Sakona, there's already enough cards, because you can't discount the cost of this, so it can't be free. So at this point, there's already a critical mass of cards that you can fit on 608.
Yeah, and I mean, even like we have captured now to as a 1 point slotless discard, right?
Right.
So it
sounds good in theory, just something not really practical.
Well, something might pop up, but I certainly haven't found it yet.
Tucker, have you found any uses for this card?
Well, so back in the day, this would have caused all manner of wailing and teeth gnashing, because all we wanted in life. So here, this is a trivia question. What ultimately was the straw that broke the camel's back that caused the Borg nerf? And the answer is, it was actually...
I thought that was supposed to us. It's rhetorical. Go ahead. Take it away, Tucker.
The answer is, it was the release of the Queen Vessel Prime, because that was the point. No big Borg ship prior to that had ever had 2 crew slots, and even with things like fleet captains and flagships, which would eventually retire, there was just a limit to the number of attacks you could cancel with Wayne and Varel. Because remember, back in the day, you could use Varel any number of times per round as long as you had, Goval and Lee Nollis and whoever handy. Well, eventually... what happened is Queen Vessel Prime came out, there was another crew slot available, and that was it. Because at that point, you could just cancel something like 3 or 4 attacks on the opening round, or even like 2 or 3 attacks across 2 turns. There's just no coming back from it.
You could do all manner of unseemly things.
Exactly.
It was Queen Vessel Prime with fleet captain going to 4 crew slots.
Right, exactly.
And then you had it.
Yeah.
Right. So... the ability to just turn all of your tech and Borg that would have given most Borg ships 3 more crew slots, and that would have, Jesus Christ. I can only imagine what the forums would have looked like back at that point, because that was also before the 50-point limit, remember, and the 2 ship minimum. But
did the 50-point limit come out at the same time as the Borg nerf, or was it 50 points and then the Borg nerf?
It
was the same time.
It was the same time. The whole thing was a huge nerf to Borg dreadnoughts.
Got it.
But
Because
now,
because it wasn't even specific upgrades that mattered. It was having that many slots
Right.
let you spend 120 points efficiently
right?
on one ship. And
Exactly.
the key was locking all your points into one ship.
And what you could do is all the really expensive upgrades really at the time were, well, you could throw a simulation tool or something on there, but because all of the things for Varel and stuff were cheap, right? But anyway, we're getting way off topic here.
Yeah.
These
So
days-
basically, it's a card that would have worked 2 years ago, but now probably not that viable.
well, with that,
If there's no 50-point limit, this is a tier A1 card.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
And
that's fair.
the last thing I'm going to say about it is, it's not good on big Borg ships because of that 50-point limit. It's not good on 608, which is probably the only scout cube you realistically can want to run, because of all the reasons we mentioned. The place where this is going to find a home is on assimilated ships.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of the Klingon one
Right,
with
right.
Core.
Now the Klingon one wants to use its Borg slot and Borg blade of hull armor, but I think it does have a tech slot, and then this helps. That does help power core because it adds that free crew slot. So there are uses for the card, and we did just get an announcement of an assimilated Intrepid coming out. So we'll see. We will see.
That we shall. Well, one card we will see on many ships in the coming months is the next crew, who is Mazzati. And Mazzati is a unique crew costing 2 points, which reads, whenever the effect of a crew upgrade would target this ship, discard this card and target that crew upgrade. Disable the target crew upgrade and cancel its effects. So Tucker, how much do you love this card?
This is going to be the most annoying card in the world for so many people.
Why so?
Well, okay, so first of all, this is a huge weapon against ganking. Actually, let me start here. The first thing to note is that Mazzati does not affect Mazzati. Mazzati does not target a ship. It targets a crew upgrade. On the other hand, almost every other thing in the game that targets a crew upgrade targets a ship. So, this is a counter.
Why is that the case? So explain that, because when I read this card, I thought it was started talking about like ship abilities, but then you brought up the fact that no, this basically targets everything.
Yeah, let me go ahead and read you Second of 5, because that's the big example, right? Second of 5 action is what's Second of 5's action in shorthand like slang? Action, gank a card on a ship, range 1 to 2. Second of 5's action reads action, target a ship at range 1 to 2. Discard this card, 1 upgrade, blah, 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 blah. They all read like that. So this is a natural counter to them. So this is going to see a lot of play because as we've demonstrated on this show, ganking is a problem in this game.
So Joseph, did competitive play need another defensive card of this nature?
Well, not a lot of people play ganking, and not a lot of people play defense to ganking. What I feel like it just layers on an extra couple points to your strategy, because if I want to run Second of 5 now, it just means I'm going to run Cost as well, because then Mazzati will trigger, Cost will discard, and Second of 5 will still function as normal. So, I don't know. It's certainly interesting, but I don't know how practical it is. But then on the other hand, it could be extremely practical.
So if I'm running a Sutherland build, for example, do I want Lee Nihilus and Koss, or do I want her in that combination? Like, which two am I taking to protect my ship?
So the advantage of Koss is that there are ganking effects that aren't crew, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Smugglers.
So I think you do want
Well,
cost.
here's an interesting question. Follow me on this. I agree that costs would stop the target upgrade from getting disabled. But number one, I'm almost positive that if it discards as part of its cost, it's still going to be discarded whether you cost or not. And number two, I'm not sure canceling its effect. I'm not sure how that works with costs.
Well, cost reads. Let me bring them up here. So, cost reads, while cost is on your ship, none of your other upgrades can be affected by your opponents.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty aggressive, right? Like
That's pretty definitive. I know there was an errata wording, but I don't think it changed that. I
But
think
he
you're right.
discards now, I think, or something.
no, the errata was that he discards, right? After
He discards, yeah.
uses effect.
So, Joseph, I know the answer is going to be it depends, but are you more inclined to take her and the Nihilus now? Is that what you're looking at if you're building that the Sutherland?
Well, what
Sutherland?
actually has moved me away from her is that if you run second of 5 and costs versus someone who runs second of 5 and Mazzotti, you either win or it's a draw, right? If they can get into range and activate first. So I think cost is just better than this.
And
And,
Tucker,
and let's not forget, cost protects against everything, right?
true. So, Tucker, on your neonatal Borg build, are you running Mazzotti or are you running Dispersion Field in that Borg slot?
Depends on if I have crew recursion or not, which seems likely on a neonatal build.
You want to try that again?
Sorry, did you not hear me?
It got cut out a little bit, but start over.
Basically, it depends on whether or not I'm running crew recursion, which I may well be on a neonatal build.
Nice. So we thought she was game changing, but it sounds like more situational than an auto include.
She is game changing in this effect. You pretty much have to run cost now, I think.
To stop her ability.
If you're running ganking or any kind of crew that's going to disrupt, I think you have to run cost to protect yourself.
Okay. Well, moving on to our first and only weapon, we have Tractor Beam, which is a 360 attack. And this is interesting. The symbol is a 360 in a circle. So I'm wondering if that also means 360 only ships, which would be kind of interesting. And we can discuss that. It costs 5. Its attack value is star, and it reads, the attack value of this weapon is equal to the ship's primary weapon value. Attack. Discard this card and target an opposing ship. For each crit that would deal damage to the defending ship's hull, you may instead steal 1 tech or crew upgrade from the defending ship, ignoring this ship's restriction, and is range 1 to 2. So, Joseph, does this replace magnetic guided charges?
It doesn't replace it. It's worth running though, and the huge difference is it's steal instead of discard. Because if you're putting crits on your opponent's hull, you don't care about discarding the upgrades because you can destroy it anyway. At that point, right? But getting them onto your ship could be incredibly important.
But Tucker, wouldn't we call this one of those win more cards? Because if you're dropping crits onto your opponent's hull, you're already in a winning position.
If it was discarding, I'd agree. Stealing is a little bit more interesting.
Because you're not necessarily winning, and if someone has one of those cheap ships with with worthwhile things to steal that you can just blow up, then that's that can sort of swing the game.
Right, because because the other side of this actually, because it's instead, which is interesting, it gives you a use for overkill.
Also true.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think it would see play? Probably not on the Queen Vessel Prime because of its cost, though. Although it's interesting, it's a 5 cost, potentially 6 attack ship upgrade. And most of the upgrade, no, I guess that's true. Yeah, so I'm going to ignore everything I just said. So probably not going on Queen Vessel Primes.
Probably not. Here's a question: if you make an attack that destroys their shields, and then the crit would hit on the hull, does shield adaptation disappear mid attack?
Well, you know, because you've already reduced your dice at the beginning of the attack.
Yeah.
No, but
Oh, can you steal? Could you gank shield adaptation?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because if you can, which I have no idea what the answer is, then that is very significant.
A tangential issue that came up was we had the Tamal attacking a ship that had shield adaptation and only 2 shields remaining. So the question was, how many attack dice does the Tamal throw?
-2.
But with its last 2 shields going down, then shield adaptation discards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is -2, but the timing of that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's not definitive. That's interesting.
Yeah. But a decent weapon. I don't think it's something that we'll see.
It's another victim to that 50-point cap, right?
Yeah. Well, and other weapons being so much cheaper, like the new Fed torpedoes.
Yeah. Well, if I'm making an 80+ point ship, devoting 5 points to this is interesting. You know, this is 5 of your 8 points for upgrades on your ship and captains, right? Like that's, you know, this is, if you put this on a Queen vessel or something, that's pretty much what you're putting on there.
But aren't you putting on magnetic guided charges, which is 5 points?
Well, those are worth that. A Borg ship with just mag charges is worth it.
Yeah.
A Borg ship with just this isn't.
I think you're taking mag charges over this more times than not.
Yeah, I think because of the 50-point limit.
Yeah. So, and our final card for the pack is the only tech included in here, which is technological analysis, which also indicates a 360 attack. And it says combat phase, spend 1 drone token and target an opposing ship. Discard 1 battle station, evade, scan, or target lock token beside the target ship, and it is range 1 to 3, costing 4 points. Tucker, you're liking this tech?
I think so. It's not an action. If you don't have initiative, it's a hard counter to co-pilot. It's not a discard. It's not even a disable. This is pretty nifty. I'm not gonna lie. And I think, by the way, that this must mean it can only go on a ship with a 360-degree firing arc, because this isn't a weapon.
So going back to tractor beam, does that mean tractor beam can only be assigned to a ship that has a 360?
That's how I'm reading it.
Interesting, because for weapons, it doesn't mean exclusive to the ship type. It just means it can only be used on primary or secondary arcs.
Yeah, I mean it's a little wacky, but I mean, why would you put this on a tech, right? If it wasn't a restriction.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if they are technically restrictions, saying that you can only put this card on a card that has a primary attack, and then you can only put this card on a card that has a secondary attack. So I guess they are. I guess all of those symbols are technically restrictive symbols.
I think that's correct.
So a card that has a primary and secondary arc, is that restricted because a ship such as the Hathaway does not have a secondary arc?
Well, I'm just going to look up the ones we do have and see what the language says in the rule book. Do either of you happen to remember what page that was on?
The restrictions, no, it's towards the back, I believe.
It's like 20 or something.
But yeah, so but this I like this because it's not an action and it's similar to what Jarrock did, and I really wanted Jarrock to be um, a good admiral, because removing quality from your opponents is so important. And this is range 1 to 3.
Yeah, it's so there's the forward firing arc,
Mm-hmm.
and it says this card's ability may only be used in one of the corresponding firing arcs. So
That-
maybe what technological analysis means is that you can only trigger it if an enemy ship is within range 1 to 3 within a 360 arc.
So you have
Unlike
to...
every other tech.
No. I see, because you can't. A ship can't be in your secondary arc if you don't have a secondary arc. So you could equip this to a ship without a 360 arc. It just wouldn't do anything.
That's right.
Okay.
Which is,
So
I guess. Oh, I guess there isn't really a better way for them to put this upgrade could only be equipped to a real Borg ship, you guys.
well, no, it goes on DS9. Tarak Noor.
That's true. That's correct. Tarak Noor can't fire this.
Well, not
Uh,
fire.
So to jump in here, I think this is the strongest card in the pack by leaps and bounds. Taking quality away from someone's dice is borders on attack cancel strong. And
As a non-action too.
as a non-action, and it's range 1 to 3. It's that old Borg. If you can attack me, I can attack you. Well, if you can attack the Borg ship, it can use this ability because it triggers in the combat phase, right? So there's no sliding in with high captain skill. And what gets around this? There's a very short list of cards.
And it can almost get around. It can get around co-pilot depending on initiative.
That's right. But what do we have? We have Young Core and Chekhov.
Oh, for quality.
Like what is this not going to disrupt?
Target lock. Oh no, it gets the target lock. Tactical drone.
There you go. Right. So there's not a ton of them.
Tomlock.
Section 31.
What is Tomlock? Oh, the new Tomlock. Yeah.
Worf.
So
Shakar Adon.
those are that's tough. And even those don't give you perfect quality, right? You're probably still the only ship that I can think of offhand that I've seen flown that this wouldn't disrupt their quality is Young Core Drex.
Right.
Right? Because the tactical drone, Shakar Eden, Worf. Though, first of all, those two cards aren't getting played anyway. But they want at battle stations desperately.
Yeah. So is this going on your 608?
I mean, that's not a bad spot for it. But even though it's 4 points, even though it's taking up so much of your available points for spending, I really like it on a big Borg ship, right? Because Borg ships can still get behind ships that have any kind of forward arc. And you use this, you take their battle station, they're instead of their 5 or 6 out of 6 hits, they get 2 hits once. That is a huge uphill battle now to get that Borg ship off the table in an hour.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's all it takes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think 4 points is such a huge burden when you're butting up against the 50-point rule for some of these ships.
Yeah, but think of what this does. I mean, what's a queen vessel? 8 and 7?
Well, are you taking this, or are you taking one with Goval?
Well, you can only do that on one ship, right?
So you do it on both, yeah. But you're also
you
spending battle.
take one on Goval on one ship, and you take this on the other ship.
Right, but you're also you're burning through drone tokens at an incredible rate. If you're using something like tactical drone to get battle stations as well.
No, that's just the thing. Like, that's way less of a concern, right? Because you're going to be using this until you can get behind them. And actually, this just occurred to me. This is not a unique talent.
It's not one for sure.
Or an upgrade.
Yes.
So your 8 points could be 2 of these, and then now you've just turned Picard into nothing.
Well, I mean, you don't have 2 tech slots probably, but.
And I guess you need some way to get drone tokens too. But.
Yes. So okay, but.
Like Queen Vessel Prime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually, on the flip side, this could go under Quark, right?
No, he can't take Borg tech.
Oh, that's right.
You could do 2 of these. It doesn't have 2 techs. You could do 2 of these in a generic drone on the Queen Vessel Prime if you had the tech. Yeah, you don't have the tech slot. But I mean, whatever. There's shuttles or whatever. But even just one, the disruption of quality is so critical. And this is an easy button, right? Like they can't get around it.
Right. Man, DS9 only has 1 tech slot. What does Tarek Noir? Did Tarek Noir have 2 tech slots?
And you know what this is brutal against too is the Hathaway, because you just take a target lock, so then they discard that, so you have no quality, or you take a target lock battle stations, take the aux, and lose the battle stations. That stinks.
Yeah. So Tarek Noir does have 2 tech slots.
There you go.
And its 360 attack can go out to range 3.
Well, there's Dustin. Dustin was wrong only because he ran DS9. He should have run Tarek Noir.
Well, as we all know, the Dominion is the preferred.
Yeah, what are you complaining about Dominion chips? You got Tarek Noir.
I'm excited. I'm buying 2 of these now.
As well, you should.
Honestly, though, Joseph, how many of these are you getting?
How many of this pack?
At this pack, yeah.
Oh, I get one of almost everything.
Well, but you don't want it 2 threat analysis?
I do. You could justify buying 2, but the idea that all your friends are going to be running 2 threat analysis or even 1 when you want to is, like borrow the second cards, guys.
Tucker, you're recommending this to buy, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're going to buy 4 because you're going to show up at Worlds with 4 Queen Vessel Primes?
No, in all honesty, well, look, you could realistically justify buying 4 of these for the tactical drone, right? And for technological analysis. Like, there's some good non-unique, and threat analysis. There's some good, there are some good non-unique cards in this pack.
Yeah, so I think we can all definitely say get 1. And 2 if you're feeling potentially feisty. And you really
I don't think there's been any new product that we wouldn't recommend buying, right? Like since the card pack.
Oh man, that Dominion one was pretty close.
I don't know about that. I mean,
I think I'm warming up to it. I'm warming up to it a lot more. Actually, I've gone from maybe 0 to probably 2. Just
well, that's hot. That's not warming up. That's
yeah. Well, like you mentioned, I think I could borrow Suicide Attack from somebody. But yeah. But no, I think this was a good pack. I think it gives the Borg tools that they needed to be a more, I can't believe I have to say this, but to be a more viable faction in this environment. And I think both of you would agree. So final thoughts for this evening, gentlemen?
We are the Borg. The Borg are amazing. I'm so excited, you guys!
He's bringing 4. Just watch out. He'll sneak them on the board. You won't even know.
What?
They'll just magically appear.
They're not shady face. What are you talking about?
Joseph, final thoughts?
I think that we got to see what the Borg are going to offer. It's that range 3 that's still going to be the deciding factor.
And
I don't know if this is enough to tip the balance or not, but obviously it's close. If we can't say so.
Well, I guess as a final note, which cards are we seeing on non-Borg ships out of this pack?
Tactical drone.
I think there's better solutions than tactical drone out there.
A double skill or a free action captain for 3 points. That tactical drone we'll see.
4 on a non-Borg.
1.
Mazzotti.
Tractor beam on Deep Space Nine.
No, it's a technological analysis on Deep Space Nine. On Terra Nor. What am I saying? First we'll also see on.
Okay, listen. No one show this to Justin Gross.
I already just said that. He's got to run Terra. His only mistake was running Deep Space Nine instead of Terra Nor. It's happening, Tucker.
It's going to become a thing.
Accept
it. Yeah. Well, I want to thank all of our listeners. I want to thank Tucker especially for giving up the captain's seat chair on this episode. It has been a pleasure hosting.
Whoa. It wasn't the captain's chair. That's,
Oh,
my
the
God.
Comm chair. I guess it was the comm chair.
It was, yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving up the comm chair, Tucker. And allowing me to reach out.
That's the one you steer the ship from, right?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm never going to let that go.
Just keep hitting the buttons, Tucker. Just keep hitting the buttons. And if you, the listeners, want buttons to hit, please share our podcast. Please like our podcast. Please give us reviews on iTunes. Find us on Facebook. I believe we're on our blog. Tucker knows all these much better than I do. But when in doubt, share, like, subscribe, and pass this along to your friends. And with that in mind, signing out, I guess. This is a terrible transition, but dial down and make you be better.
State of the Federation is a non-profit, fan-based production of Tucker Kobe, Joseph Van Der Yacht, and Robert Fletcher. Editing by Tucker Kobe. State of the Federation original concept by Will Sanchez. Star Trek Attack Wing, the flight path system, and all other properties mentioned are owned by their respective rights holders.